Hello. Today, what I want to do is to walk through the creation of a cross section onto, or placing the cross section onto a Paperspace layout with the border and the cross section being placed on that piece of paper on that layout to scale. So as you can see, I'm starting out with a completed cross section. I have the entire cross section done, and what I want to do is to get this onto a layout. Right now we're looking at the cross section in model space, and what I want to do is to get this cross section into a Paperspace layout to scale. So the first thing, first of all, you may notice that I have a few layouts here that are completed, and I possibly could show you some of that later. But for right now, let's just concentrate on this cross section right here. I'm going to start from scratch. So what I want to do first is to open up a new layout, and you can see it down here. It's called Layout 1. And so I click on that, and it defaults to, it has a couple of default settings. First of all, it generally defaults to 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, which is very small, and it defaults to one viewport. So what we want to do is make a couple of changes, and I can do that by right-clicking on the Layout tab and then going to Page Setup Manager. And I am going to modify Layout 1. So I go over here to the Modify button, and it brings up this dialog box. And the first thing I can do, if I know what plotter I'm going to go to, I can pull this plotter name down. And in this case, I do know that I'm generally going to go to the Horton Hall room 131. 1050C, and again, that may vary for you, but I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to change the paper size from 8.5 by 11 portrait to 17 by 22 landscape. That's what we're going to use for the paper size. And I want to leave this plot scale, or the scale of the Paperspace Paperspace on set to 1:1, or full scale. Even if I'm going to, in this case, plot that scale to 3/8 inch equals a foot, or maybe a floor plan at 1/4 inch equals a foot, I will scale the viewport, all right, the viewport to the proper scale. The Paperspace layout is 1:1. So I click on OK and close. So notice that it looks like this viewport got smaller. It didn't. It did not do that. In actuality, what happened was our paper got larger. So so now I have this viewport. I'm going to do a single click on that viewport, and I'm just going to make it larger. You can see now that there was more work done in that model space. But again, right now I'm concerned about this cross section right here. So now I'm going to double click. Right now I'm out in Paperspace. I'm out in Paperspace, and if I want to do any changes inside model space, what I have to do, what I can do is just double click inside there, and notice that it made the viewport active. So now I can pan, I can zoom, and that's what I want to do right now. I want to zoom it. So this is what I am concerned about right here. So now what I want to do is scale this viewport. So I'm going to double click out here into Paperspace to make the Paperspace active. And now I want to scale this, and I can do this a number of different ways. This, to me, is the easiest way, is to single click on it to highlight it, and then right click to bring up this drop down menu and go all the way to the bottom to Properties. Click on that, and what I want to do is down to towards the bottom, it's under Miscellaneous. It has the standard scale If I click on that, I can pull this down and set this to any scale that I desire. For a floor plan, it would be 1/4 inch equals a foot. In this case, for a cross section, a very typical scale is 3/8 inch equals a foot. So I click on that. And then what I want to do, as soon as I have the right scale, this is a very strong suggestion I have, is to lock it. Lock that that viewport so that I don't, by accident, um, scale that incorrectly. So now I have this cross section here scaled at 3/8 inch equals a foot. I'm going to resize this slightly so that I'm showing the entire cross section. And one thing, and this is not uncommon, you notice that this does not fit. The entire cross section, including the cross section here of the home and the cross section here of the garage, do not fit. That's not going to be a serious problem for us. So, but this is because what we'll do is basically cut out a portion of the structure that is scaled that does not fit on the cross or on this sheet, and we'll cut out a portion that's just repetitive. Actually, what we'll do is we'll cut out this portion and slide this portion in. I'll show you how to do that in just a couple of minutes here. Okay, I'm going to again resize that just so that everything here is included. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just take this viewport and size it down. And about right there looks pretty good. So I have all of the structure and just a small portion of the garage shown right here. I can do this again a couple of different ways, and I'll show you one way. What I would suggest is this. I'm going to copy, because I want the end of the garage over here. I want that at the same scale, and I want it lined up horizontally right here. So I'm just going to copy this viewport, and I want to have ortho on so I don't slide it down or up. I want to put ortho on, and I'm going to copy it to right there. Now what I'd like to do is to pan over to this side so I show the end of the garage, and I believe I want to double click inside this viewport. I don't believe I can pan. I can't. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here. So I'm going to make the viewport, the grips active. I'm going to slide this over a little bit further so that I can see this end of the garage. And I'm going to slide this over. Now this portion is what I want to slide onto the paper. Again, make sure that you have ortho on. I'll slide this onto the paper. So basically what we did is we cut out a repetitive portion of the garage right here. We cut that out, and we can later on out in Paperspace we can add some break lines there to show that we're breaking out a portion of that garage. But we now can fit this entire cross section onto the page. So we have both of these sections lined up horizontally and also at 3/8 inch equals a foot. One other thing that that is pretty common, and again, just like this building is not exactly what you have a different structure. Also, in a different page, you might want to have a detail at a different scale. For instance, it'd be pretty common to want to have the detail of this eave on the same page at a larger scale. So let's do that. So what I want to do here is want to use MView. MV is the abbreviation, but it's MView is the command. It's called make view, and I just want to cut a box out just like this, and I'm going to go make that active by double clicking inside it, and then I'm going to pan and zoom. Now there I have a detail. I'm going to double click out here in Paperspace because I want to scale this. I think that a good scale would be 1 inch equals a foot. And you can see that the scale, the standard scale right now is custom. I want to make that 1 inch equals a foot, and I'm going to lock it. I really am quite confident that that's the right scale. Lock it, yes. I'm just going to close that. So now I have this this detail up here at 1 inch equals a foot. These two cross sections, again lined up horizontally, are are um, at 3/8 inch equals a foot. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do also is make sure that you have available to you the a title block. I could have you make it, but I believe that it'd be to our advantage to just make this available to you, just like a company would. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to insert a block. And in my case, I have this on my desktop, and it's called NDSCS border. It will be likely in a different location. It may be a different name, but in any case, double click on that and OK. And I'm going to put that down at 0, 0. Just key that in. And then it'll ask me some questions. For instance, how many sheets do we have? I don't know that right now. I'm just going to put X. And I can go back and fill these in later. What is this sheet number? I don't know that. I'm going to put Y. That it's drawn by, I'll put cap locks on, P. Lacan, that's me. And the date, today's date is 3/22/05. Return. The drawing scale, actually it varies. I have 3/8 inch equals a foot and 1 inch equals a foot, so I'll put varies. The class instructor, I'll put PSL for, again, myself. The city project, or the project city, yes, Wahpeton. And by the way, you can put whatever you'd like here. You can put your hometown, whatever you'd like. And the project name, I'll say Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Again, you can make up a name. Don't make sure that it's an appropriate name. Don't make up a strange name that somebody might think twice about. And the revision date, I'm going to put a dash there. There is no revisions at this point. Revision date 2 and 3. Okay, so I have this now placed in here. I think I'm going to actually I'm going to move that using the move command. I'm going to move that down onto the page. And I can see also that I want to move these 3 viewports. Take ortho off. That looks pretty good. The one thing that I should have done before, and I can easily change it, but I should put these 3, the actual viewports themselves, on a layer called viewports that I would later freeze so that they're not visible. And you can see I've already made that, and it's already frozen, so I'm going to change it to that, and they will disappear because that layer is frozen, and that's okay. So now what I have is I'm going to move that title block just a little bit more so it's fully on that page. And now I have this cross section. It is, we've cut out right here, we've cut out a repetitive portion so we can fit the garage and the house on the same sheet. And I have this detail up here. And now I'd be ready out in Paperspace to add dimensions and notes to this cross section. So that completes the what I wanted to show here today.